So you've decided to start seeds for your garden indoors. Fantastic. But now, what other supplies do you need? Stick around. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to Blended Hearts Homestead. Thank you for coming to my channel. My name is Shannon, and today we're going to talk about some of the supplies you could use for starting your seeds for your garden indoors. I don't have a greenhouse yet. Note to Jason to add to his to-do list. So in the meantime, I'm utilizing a small bit of space on our enclosed back porch, aka Jason's office too. It's over there. If you're new to starting seeds, or you've been doing it for years, I think you'll find that it's totally worth it. Not only does growing from seed lower your investment in your garden, it also helps lower your risk of things going wrong. For example, if you buy started plants, and let me mention, there's nothing wrong with doing that. We do it too. We buy started plants for some of the varieties that we don't have seeds for. So nothing wrong with that. But with started plants, you're typically paying around $3 a plant, maybe higher, depending on your area or the plant. And if you make a mistake and they die, well, you've spent more money than if you had something go wrong with the $3 seed packet that contains 25 seeds for 25 plants. Typically, if your seeds don't germinate, you can always reseed and try again for a much cheaper option than buying more started plants. You also have options for many more varieties to choose from. If you're buying from a nursery, you're left to choose from what they have to offer. You go online and you've been opened up to a whole new world full of different seed varieties. First thing I recommend to do is know when to plant your seeds indoors. If you're unsure of when to start them, go online and search for the last frost date for your zip code. Okay, that will give you the estimated date of when the last frost is going to be, as we never really know what Mother Nature is going to do, especially here in upstate New York. It's a good date to base your starting point on for starting your seeds indoors. The next thing to do is take a look at your seed packets. As I covered in my previous video on seed details, depending on the company, you should be able to find information on the back of the seed packet telling you when to start them indoors. For example, this basil seed packet has, let's see, it tells me to start the seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks before transplanting. So my estimated last frost day is May 17th. Therefore, I'm going to plant seeds indoors right around March 29th at the 7-week mark. I don't want to go too far back, again, as that last frost day is just an estimate, and I don't want my plants to get too big where I might have to repot them into larger pots before I can get them outside. So the less stress you can give a plant, the better. Just like humans. Another thing to keep in mind is the amount of time that it takes a seed to germinate. If the seed package says that it takes about 14 days or more to germinate, then you may want to start the plant indoors at the longer time frame listed. So if it says start at 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost date, go to the 8-week mark. And remember, not every seed needs to be planted indoors. There are many to direct sow into the ground after the last frost date. Most root vegetables are better off being sown directly outside. Although I'll be planting some onion seeds indoors, but your potatoes, your corn, those are typically ones that they want their seeds to be planted directly into the ground. Their roots don't like to be disturbed once they're settled in, and they're fast growers, so there's really no need to start them indoors. Now, you may be thinking that buying seeds to start indoors can get a little expensive, and it can, initially. However, there's a few things that you can do to minimize that cost. One, you can join or host a seed exchange. Get a hold of friends, family, neighbors who garden and see if they want to exchange seeds. You may have a package of bell peppers that you can exchange for somebody's cucumbers. Second thing, get a hold of last year's seeds. Stores are only allowed to sell this year's seeds. On the seed packet, you'll notice a packed by date or a sell by date, and it will list the year. This is not the expiration date for the seeds. Seeds can last multiple years, especially if stored in cool, dry places. So when you buy that package of 50 cucumber seeds, but you only have space to plant 10 plants, you've technically got enough seeds to last you 5 years. And the third thing, the last tip, as I mentioned in my previous video, you can save the seeds from your heirloom variety plants. Doing that means you never have to buy another seed package again. Okay, back to supplies. Now you can find all sorts of different plant containers that you can grow your seeds in. There are tons of different types of flats that contain 75 or more cells to plant your seeds into. You can even find pretty multicolored ones. You don't have to go with just the black variety. There are many, many different options out there. I have purchased some flats from Amazon, which I will link to in the description below. I found them to be pretty cost effective. They came in sets of 5. I thought that the price was definitely worth it. I'll show you a couple of the ones that I did buy. So this one is the set of 75 cells, which the holes here are about 1.4 inches by 1.4 inches, and it holds quite a few different little plants. These ones I would not put like things like tomatoes or anything in, because the tomato plant is going to need a lot more space for its roots to grow. So then I would use either one of the bigger trays like this that is more of a 2.5 by 2.5 inch, or I might even go even larger, because tomatoes, once you get them started, it'd be nice to just transplant them once and not have to repot them again and again. So you can also get little things like these little containers that are pretty large. They got smaller ones as well, that type of thing. But don't think that you have to have special containers to grow your seeds in. Use your recyclables. Yogurt cups and containers or cut off milk jugs make excellent planters for your seeds. Wash out those red Solo cups that you just used during the Super Bowl game. Just poke a few holes or one big hole in the middle of it on the bottom. Fill it with soil and plant your seeds. You can even use egg cartons. Just keep in mind that, again, depending on the plant, you may have to transplant them into bigger pots later on down the road before transplanting them outside. Another idea too, you can use these wonderful aluminum pans, aluminum trays that we always use. This is the giant lasagna pan with a lid. So it even comes with your own lid already for the humidifier effect that we're looking to obtain, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And then grab some plastic cups. You know, just use these little plastic cups that you can find at the dollar store. I think I picked all these up at Family Dollar for a couple bucks. Use a plastic cup. Drill a hole at the bottom of it. Okay, here you go. Put all your cups in here, and you have your ready-made garden supply all set for starting your seeds indoors. One thing too, if you are using any pots or containers that previously had plants in them, planted from last year or the year before or whenever, make sure that you wash them thoroughly with bleach to help remove any kind of bacteria that may have been in the soil of that plant, so you don't already kill off your new plant before it has a chance to even grow. So once you do have your containers, you do need some sort of tray for them to sit in, like that aluminum tray I just showed you, or for example, this one from Amazon. And here are the cups with the holes in them, and here's the tray that it comes with. This can be anything from a small plastic tote you have laying around, these things, if you buy the kits like this. Very important, because I'm going to give you one tip for starting your seeds indoors that you may not have heard before. Water your plants from the bottom up. Now, why am I saying that? Pour the water in. It will disrupt the soil and also possibly displace the seeds that you have already planted. And doing so can disrupt the germination or the growing process. I've seen a lot of recommendations about watering from the bottom up, and I found it to be very much more helpful to the plant as it grows. Now again, this is just my recommendation. I'm not an expert by any means, so you do you. So you'll lift your plant containers out of the tray, pour your water directly into the tray, and then put your plant containers back into the tray. The holes from the bottom of those plant containers will soak up the water into the soil, and whatever water still remains after about 30 minutes, dump it out. Take these back out again and pour out the remaining water. Your soil has already soaked up what it needs, and your plants stay nice and clean. One thing regarding the type of tray to have, I have heard that it's best not to use cardboard, especially if you're using heat mats, because the cardboard will absorb the heat from the heat mat and not necessarily transfer it all the way to the plants. I've never used cardboard before for myself, so I can't say whether or not that's completely accurate, but I'm just sharing information that I have heard and learned about over time. So that brings us to our next supply on the list, heat mats. What keeps a seed from growing? It's cool and dry. When they are given warmth and moisture, they begin to grow, and heat mats help deliver that warmth. Now, are heat mats safe? With anything that produces heat, there's always that thought on whether or not they are safe. Heat mats are very safe and designed to be left on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until your seeds have fully sprouted. Some people think they should turn them off at night, kind of to simulate how the earth cools down at night, and then turn them back on in the morning as the sun is warming up the earth. This will just slow down your germination process. Okay, they are meant to stay on all the time until your seeds fully germinate. But if it does make you nervous, you can get adjustable ones in which you can turn the temperature down a little bit at night if you want to. Keep in mind, you don't have to use heat mats. However, if your house is cool in the winter, or if you're using an outdoor green space, you'll want to use a seedling heat mat to help maintain the consistent germination temperature that the seeds need to start growing. Most of your seedlings require at least 70 degrees Fahrenheit, as you'll see on the back of your seed packages. I'll link to all the supplies that I discuss in this video down below, so you can take a look at them for yourself. You will actually put your heat mat down on the bottom of your rack or countertop, whatever you have, and place your seed trays or containers on top of it. That way the heat from the heat mat will rise up through the bottom of the containers and warming up the soil that the seed has been planted into. Another item that I touched on briefly earlier is the plastic cover or dome that comes with many of your trays that you can purchase online or at the garden store. So what is this for? Keeping your seeds moist is very important to getting them to germinate. So this type of plastic cover provides kind of like a humidifier effect and keeps it just at the right type of humidity that the seeds need. Now, you can also use saran wrap as well and lightly drape it over your seed containers. The important thing is that as soon as the seeds start to sprout, the dome comes off. Another important piece of equipment to have when starting your seeds indoors is a grow light. Unfortunately, even on the most sunny of days, even with these windows being right here and the drapes open, natural sunlight through the windows is not enough to keep the seedlings happy. They will grow, but you'll notice they have what's called a leggy effect, a type of appearance as they stretch out, super tall and thin, and search for more light. These taller seedlings do not equal healthier plants. They will become weak and be susceptible to breakage. Two most common types of grow lights to use indoors are LED or fluorescent lights. Whichever you choose, it's best to select one described as full spectrum for starting seedlings. Make sure you keep your grow light only about 3 to 4 inches above your seed containers. And once they sprout, keep the lights about 2 inches above the plants. You're going to consistently raise them up. The amount of time that the light is on will depend on the amount of sun that your plant needs. Check your seed package because that information should be on there. These you can shut off at night. You can even buy timers to connect these two, so you don't even have to worry about making sure you turn them on and off every single day. Next, you're going to need some kind of soil medium to grow your seeds in. There are thousands of different varieties of soil out there. When you go to the store, you'll see tons of soil packages labeled as seed starting mixes. While they are designed to use for starting seeds, many do not have any nutrition in them. Unless they specifically say they contain fertilizer or other nutrients, you will have to continuously add some kind of fertilizer or nutrients to your seedlings in order for them to grow. The seedlings will come up in the mixes because they will use all of the energy they have stored inside that seed to grow and sprout. But once they sprout, then you'll notice that they quickly die off. Why? Because they're being starved to death. Also, another tip that I've learned is you shouldn't bring soil in from outside to start your seeds in. So while you may be thinking that, hey, I should use soil of my own land in order for my seeds to get acclimated to it, you can bring in fungus, diseases, and insects. The insect eggs are actually hibernating in the ground because it's cold. And as soon as you start warming them up and bringing them inside, the game on for those insect babies. And the mold starts to grow and the diseases will kill out your seeds. Personally, I'm going to start our seeds in a potting mix soil this year. I picked up a Pennington brand from Walmart. It's a rejuvenant potting soil mix, premium all-purpose for indoor and outdoor use. Now, the reason why I picked up this particular potting soil mix, it was the only potting soil mix that actually had nutrients that I was looking for in it. So it says revitalizes soil with essential plant nutrients. I was specifically looking to make sure I had a potting soil mix that contained earthworm castings, which this does, water holding crystals, which this does, peat, which this does, and added nutrients. Now, there are many out there who are going to say that potting soil mix is too dense or heavy for seedlings. And another thing that I picked up to help with that issue is perlite. So I picked up some Miracle Grow perlite, and that's going to assist in the drainage in the soil for my seedlings. One other tip when buying soil is when you open up that bag of soil that you just purchased, you want to make sure that it smells earthy and not foul. If it has an off smell, you may want to think about getting something else before you plant your seeds into it. Another thing that I've learned is that when you put your seed mix together, my soil and my perlite, I'm going to mix it all together, you want to pre-moisten your potting mix with boiling water. This will actually sterilize the mix and kill off any kind of fungus that may have been in the bag. It also helps the soil to retain moisture so that when you do put it in your cups, you won't have to water as heavily when you plant your seeds into it, as it's already moist. You don't need a ton of water, just enough to moisten it so that the soil is wet but not dripping when you squeeze it. Another thing to note, that even though the potting soil mix I bought has nutrients in it, if you're going to be planting your seeds indoors for longer than 6 weeks, you'll want to add some kind of fertilizer to them as they begin depleting the nutrients out of the potting soil mix. It's not necessarily something you have to have, but it is highly recommended. So just a simple liquid fertilizer that you can add to your water when you're watering your plants is sufficient. Nothing to buy at the beginning, but something to keep in mind later on. Another thing that is handy to have is the shelving unit. We are starting our seedlings on this shelving unit this year, where I can fit 2 to 3 flats on each shelf. I can then hang my grow lights from the shelf above it. And as the plants grow, move the lights up using the S-hooks and the chains. This is more of a convenience supply on the list, as last year we just used whatever countertops we could find. So that's pretty much my top list of supplies. Again, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy the most expensive seed containers or, get a rack or anything like that. You don't even have to have a grow light. You can use sunlight in the window. You just have to make sure that you're constantly turning your plants, or, that they're getting the sun that they need, and that you don't have leggy, thin plants, because it makes for a sickly plant when you do transplant it outside. And even if you have all of these supplies to plant your seeds indoors, the most important thing to ensure the success of your plants growing is to be attentive to them. Make sure you're checking on them daily, watering them as needed. Ensure they have access to enough light. Ensure you're moving their grow lights as needed. Set an alarm on your phone if you have to. Whatever you have to do to make sure that you are checking them diligently. To have success, you cannot be negligent to your baby seedlings. It's easy to forget as you take on the care of a living thing that you don't normally take care of on a daily basis. Make it a point to keep an eye on those babies. It's not hard to seed start. You just have to pay attention. So again, I'm definitely not an expert. I have a lot more to learn, and I'm looking forward to learning. So I'd love to hear what you recommend to have for supplies on hand for starting seeds. What kind of soil do you use? Is there a particular fertilizer that you found to be exceptionally good? Please share your ideas with me. Richard Buckminster Fuller, an American architect, writer, inventor, and philosopher, actually said it best. You can never learn less. You can only learn more. Let's learn from each other. Thank you again for being here. I greatly appreciate it. And if you found this helpful or informative, please hit the thumbs up sign below, subscribe and share, and have a wonderful day. God bless each one of you on your journeys. Take care. See you soon.